A great place to start with My Last Duchess is to look at the title. Just like many poems, that title can give a really good early indication of what the poem is about, and can give you an insight into some of the characters, personalities, themes and ideas that are contained within it. And although there are only 3 words in My Last Duchess, those 3 words can tell us quite a lot. I mean, for example...
First of all, last.
Last.
My last cookie.
The only one I have left. The last. And when this is gone, there'll be no more cookies. Gone. No more cookies. My last cookie. However, it could also mean last cookie as in the last one I actually had, but not the last, because there are more. That was my last cookie, but this is my next cookie. So all of a sudden the cookie I just ate, not so special, not so important after all, but one of many, one of a series. And when we start to consider this guy's talking about his Duchess, his wife, it already starts to tell us a little bit about the speaker's attitudes. That she isn't necessarily his last Duchess, the only woman he'll ever have, rather could be the last in a series. When we look at the word my, in conjunction with those 2 words, it again makes us think on another level here. My is a possessive word, meaning it's something that belongs. My last Duchess, as if it's his wife, his woman. Now, there's nothing wrong with using the word my, but in a context of a poem where it's all about possessiveness and about control, once again it's about the man seeing that he owns this woman, he collects her, just like, as in a moment, we'll see that he collects his works of art. Also, the word my, quite obviously, is in the first person. It's a person talking about themselves, which sets us up for the fact that the poem is a dramatic monologue, and the character is speaking to us. And so during the course of this poem, the Duke is going to take us through from his painting of his Duchess to telling us about the real Duchess. So we have the painting and then the real woman who he also collected and also controlled. And then at the very end of the poem, he's going to show us one more piece of artwork, a sculpture. So you end up with this sort of gallery of paintings and of sculptures. And just as the painting of the woman can be symbolic, because it could be a real person that he's talking about, or the painting that is his last Duchess, so the sculpture of Neptune taming a seahorse we see just at the very end could also be important. A lot of candidates missing out. They don't see it as being a very important part of the poem. But remember that the painting is almost framed by 2 works of art. A painting of a woman and then a sculpture of Neptune taming a seahorse. The 2 seem to be completely different, but there's a common theme that joins the 2 together, as we'll see. The artworks come alive with symbolism. For a start, Neptune in virtually every classical statue is shown as a very strong, powerful king, a powerful leader. Seahorses are generally shown as being, they are frail and beautiful creatures. So when you see a picture like this of a seahorse, frail and beautiful, and you see this seahorse being dominated by an evil, strong male, you can already see some suggestions. If the seahorse might suggest, for example, it might be a feminine image to use, it might be fragile, it might be, you might say, vulnerable. You might say that the sea god himself represents power. You could say, in fact, it's male power because he's a powerful king. It suggests domination, the fact that he's putting his will onto another creature, so he's forcing another creature to do what he wants it to do. Or you could say, for example, that it's ownership. Neptune is taming the seahorse because to him, the animal belongs to him and it will do the things that he wants it to do. So you've got this kind of, between the 2 images in the statue, you've got a symbol of a very strong male figure dominating a very gentle and vulnerable creature. Now that in itself might not be important to you until you consider that the whole poem is about a man who's a bit of a bully, dominating his silent and, we're led to believe, quite vulnerable wife, ultimately killing her. So when the poem ends and he says, oh, this statue that Klaus of Innsbruck has cast in bronze, to me it seems like he's just throwing this in as a detail at the end, but he isn't. It's very important. It's a symbol that almost the whole poem could be seen to be in that last image at the very end of the poem. And if you remember nothing else about My Last Duchess, you know, being able to talk about the symbolism, is what we call something like this, a symbol. Just like when you walk into any kind of building and see two signs on the door, one looks like this and one looks like this. You don't suddenly walk in and think, oh, I'm going to see stick men if I go through that door. You don't suddenly think to yourself, if I go through here, I'm going to see lots of men wearing skirts. You know that this represents female, this represents male, because it's a symbol. In the same way, something like this can be a symbol for power and dominance. So when we're talking about something that can have these ideas, we say that it's symbolic or that it symbolises. So the statue at the end of the poem can symbolise a relationship that takes place across the two characters. So hopefully, now we've got the title and the ending out of the way, you've got the picture of what this poem is really all about.